Guys, welcome back to a brand new video. I'm RexFinance, and today I'm going to be discussing exactly when Cathie Wood says that growth and innovative stocks are going to recover. She's been pretty clear about this, but we're still confused as a community. So in today's video, I hope to be able to explain this better. Anyways, if you guys are new here or returning and not yet subscribed, I would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So it all starts with inflation. Literally everything that has to do with growth and innovative companies and stocks recovering has to do with inflation expectations. And Cathie Wood has been very clear about what she expects on this front. And just as a preface to this, I agree with her. Another example of an individual that agrees with Cathie Wood's thesis here is Meet Kevin, if you guys watch his channel. But let me explain this to you in layman's terms. So I can go to Cathie Wood's most recent tweet to help explain this situation. She says, most bears seem to believe that inflation will continue to accelerate. This is the key phrase that a lot of people are overlooking when she tweeted this thread out. Most bears seem to believe that inflation will continue to accelerate. Now, people get confused with what Cathie Wood is saying here because they believe that Cathie Wood is saying she believes there's going to be no inflation whatsoever. And let me take you in on a little bit of a secret here. Anybody that claimed there's going to be zero inflation after all the money we've printed is a plain out idiot. That's just the way it is. Most bulls actually agreed that we were going to see heightened inflation. However, the difference is the bulls right now on growth and innovative companies believe that that money is going to start flowing back into the growth companies as inflation decelerates or inflects downwards. So let's go to the drawing board so I can explain this a little bit better. What I have drawn on the screen right now is not a snake or just a random curvy line. This is what both bulls and bears expected inflation readings to look like, and it's exactly what we've gotten. CPI data has proven that we're getting heightened and accelerating inflation numbers year over year. However, where bulls and bears differ is where they believe this is going next. Bulls like Cathie Wood and me, RexFinance, believe that we're actually going to see a deceleration in inflation, meaning we're going to see an inflection to the downside. We are not saying there's going to be no inflation because, again, anybody that's claiming that is just a flat out idiot. What we are saying is that we believe inflation numbers year over year are going to go down from where they were over the past few months. So we believe, as I draw this on the diagram, that inflation will stay at heightened levels. But we believe that this is going to start dropping down like this before kind of leveling out right here. What Bears and Michael Saylor are saying right now is that they believe inflation is going to continue to accelerate and it's going to go up year over year even more on a percentage basis than it has over the past few months' readings. So what they believe is going to happen, I'll draw this in red so we can distinguish between the two, they believe it's going to look something like this, where we're going to keep accelerating to the upside, and ultimately, that is going to destroy growth in innovation. However, if inflation does inflect to the downside, like I and Cathie Wood believe it will, that is going to be very, very good for growth in innovative companies, which happens to make up the bulk of retail investors' portfolios right now. If inflation runs away from us and continues to accelerate, that is not good for our growth in innovative companies because the inflation eats away at any of those earnings that these companies can report. More of their earnings growth could be attributed to inflation rather than natural growth of the business. That's a scary thought, and that's part of the reason growth in innovative companies have had such an abysmal first half of 2021. So why does Cathie Wood and guys like me believe that inflation is going to inflect downwards? Well, we can go right back to Cathie Wood's thread on Twitter here, and she explains this in a very, very good way. She says, despite what we believe has been a supply chain related short-term burst in inflation, both equities and bonds have appreciated since March. So what Cathie Wood and I personally believe is that a lot of this inflation has came from these short-term supply chain related issues, the bottlenecks in the supply chains. You can look at batteries, solar panels, whatever you want to look at. There are massive supply chain issues, and we believe that as 2021 continues to progress, those supply chain issues are going to start to resolve themselves, bringing inflation numbers down and maybe actually turning a headwind into a tailwind and helping these growth and innovative companies. The reason I'm on Team Cathie Wood with this is because I've listened to several earnings calls from these growth and innovative companies. In most, over 90% of these companies are claiming that they believe the supply chain issues for their respective companies are going to resolve themselves throughout the rest of 2021. Obviously, that's great to hear if you are a bull on growth and innovative companies. But again, if that doesn't happen, if the supply chain constraints continue, it's likely that this beatdown of growth and innovation could continue. However, one last thing that I feel the need to mention is that the deals right now are very clearly in growth and innovation. I mean, that is a fact. What is up in the air is when the money is going to start cycling back into these growth and innovative companies. Nobody knows that. That could be tomorrow. That could be today. Today we're having a great green day. It could be next week. It could be several months down the road. It could be next year before this truly happens and it's here to stay. Nobody knows when that is going to happen. So I ran a poll on Twitter. So I'll go to my Twitter page now to look at this. So I kind of gauged my own community. This isn't that broad of a poll that I ran. We only got 266 votes in this, but it gives us a general idea of what most people are thinking. I asked, when do you believe money will start flowing back to growth and innovation? It really was a pretty even split here, but the majority of people either believe that money is going to start flowing back to growth and innovation either over the next 1 to 3 months or over the next 6 to 12 months. If you want my opinion, I believe that money is going to start flowing back to us sometime over the next 1 to 3 months. I could be wrong. I'm not a financial advisor, but let me explain to you why that is. I've already talked about how I believe the supply chain issues are going to start to resolve themselves. But what's also important to note is that in order to get money to flow back to growth and innovation, the markets have to believe that inflation is breaking to the downside. They have to believe it. And in my eyes, the only surefire way that the markets will start believing that inflation is going to start to decelerate and not continue to accelerate is getting the physical numbers themselves. So when are we getting the next CPI data releases, etc.? Let's go ahead and look at that. We can see that in the month of September, this will be our next CPI data release. September 14th will give us CPI data for August of 2021 in comparison to August of 2020. In August of 2020, the economy was starting to recover, starting to reopen. So we have all of those things that are going to help put more deflationary pressures on these readings. I know it sounds complicated. There's a lot that goes into it, but I honestly believe this upcoming CPI data release could be huge for the return of money back to growth and innovation. Again, all we need is the markets to start believing that this is going to be the case. That, hey, yeah, we're going to have some pretty high inflation numbers, but overall, it's not going to continue to accelerate and it's not going to get out of our control. That is the market's main worry right now with growth and innovation, is inflation getting out of control and eating away at these companies' earnings reports. Obviously, we get one CPI data release per month. So after the September the 14th, we get one on October the 13th, then November the 10th, and December the 10th. So sometime over these next 4 months in particular, I believe that we're going to see this inflection to the downside. You could already argue that last month's readings kind of already gave us this, but this next month's readings could be what confirms that inflection to the downside, which again could be huge for growth and innovation, which might be part of the reason that growth and innovation has actually started to recover. The market is actually starting to believe that this is going to be the case. So you clicked on this video to find out when exactly Cathie Wood believes that this return to growth and innovation will take place. The answer is as soon as the markets get confirmation and start believing inflation is going to inflect to the downside. Again, not saying inflation is not going to be there. It's going to be non-existent. That's not what Cathie Wood is saying. She's saying that she admits inflation is here because how could you not after all of this money printing? But she actually believes the inflation readings are going to decelerate from here and inflect to the downside, which would make sense as you look into all the different pressures being put into this CPI data release. Anyways, guys, I'm going to leave this video here. Let me know down in the comment section below when you personally believe this rotation back to growth and innovation will take place. Again, it's no secret that this is where the deals are. You can look at multiple valuation metrics and see that there are some great deals in growth and innovation. It's just a matter of waiting until that money starts flowing back into growth and innovation. So with that, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that like button down below. It helps me out tremendously. Again, if you guys are new here or returning and not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. With that, I'll be back with a brand new video later this week. Peace out.